What's going on, everybody? Jeff Holiday here, and today I thought we'd do something a little bit different. You see, on my channel very commonly we're talking about weird and bizarre treatments that people are being convinced into doing out of fear in the modern day. And, well, because the world's kind of going crazy right now, maybe we need some fun. We need some distractions. So, we're going to look back into history, and we're going to enjoy a quick little romp into the 5 most bizarre medical treatments used throughout history. Let's go! Number 1. Get malaria, cure syphilis? Syphilis is a bacterial infection that was rampaging through the known world for hundreds of years. Primary syphilis starts out with a single sore somewhere on your body, usually at the site of infection. After a short while, that can then develop into secondary syphilis, which can be a rash that could cover your whole body, followed by warts. Then syphilis can also enter into a dormant stage, where it can just sit inside of you, unknowing, for years and years and years. And then, lastly, when it finally develops into tertiary syphilis, it can attack things like your brain, your cartilage, your bones, your skin, and in general, it is a very awful, scary, horrid way to die. And prior to the invention of penicillin, we were pretty much held hostage by syphilis. If you get it, it's a death sentence. Until a few intrepid and daring people noticed something kind of interesting. For thousands of years, we've known about the curative properties of a fever, by which I mean if your internal body temperature raises up to a certain extent, it can help repel or kill bacterial or other types of infections. But it really was kind of like a blunt science until we could understand it further with things like microscopes and further testing. And one of the latent symptoms of having a late-stage syphilis infection is called GPI, or general paralysis of the insane. Enter into the picture Elias VO. This doctor from Austria started doing some experiments by intentionally infecting people who had GPI, or late-stage syphilis, with malaria. Malaria, because it's very common when you have a malarial infection as well, you get an extremely high fever, along with other rather nasty side effects. Now, to be fair, Dr. VO, he didn't just initially inject people with malaria. He tried all sorts of fascinating things with not very pleasing results, but it did turn out that those who were infected with syphilis and had GPI saw a substantial increase in possible survivability. That is, if the malaria injection didn't kill you, which that did happen. I mean, come on. But for his efforts in his discovery, Dr. VO won the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1927. We now know, after the advent of penicillin, that it really isn't necessary to try and further induce massive fevers to kill off a syphilitic infection. But that hasn't stopped other doctors from attempting malarial therapy even so far back as about 1990, when certain researchers decided to try and do it for HIV infections. It didn't go well. Number 2. Crocodile poo-poo keeps you from getting pregnant. As far back into the ancient history as we can peer, there have always been people trying to prevent themselves from getting knocked up. The ancient Egyptians were no exception, and they were quite inventive. Now, they experimented with and tried various different solutions to this, but none more inventive than taking the dung of a crocodile and mixing it up into a paste so that they could then form a plug to cover their cervix. Now, whether the pregnancy was avoided because it either blocked the semen or because, well, it's kind of repulsive to smell like animal poop is up to anyone's guess. Number 3. Blowing smoke up your butt to come back to life. Now, this one isn't so odd as in it's just bizarre, but it's odd because in how widely it was adopted and accepted. But we'll get there. For a very long time, Native Americans had a little bit of a remedy for certain problems, which was blowing tobacco smoke up a butt. But as far as most people understand it, this was commonly used for constipated horses, not really people. However, very intrepid English physicians, they were not deterred by such things. Experiments ensued, and for some reason, they decided it works. It works! Of course it works. And you know what it works best for? Drowning. Yes, when somebody drowns, the most appropriate thing to do is to pull down their pants, put something in their butt, and shove tobacco smoke directly up there. One of the first documented instances of this came from 1746 when a man's wife drowned while swimming. A nearby doctor suggested that, well, perhaps if we blow smoke up her butt, well, she'll come back to life. So, the man took his burning pipe, he inserted the stem into her rectum, and then he... Now, whether it was the tobacco or it was the burning hot cinders flying up into her digestive tract, nobody really quite knows. But whatever it was brought her back from the brink of death, and I imagine quite butthurt. I'm so sorry. But again, what's so crazy about this one isn't that it existed or that people believed it. No. It was because it was so widely accepted that at certain points, the government started putting emergency equipment with bellows and stems and tubes in order to very quickly, should somebody fall into the river and drown, well, you can pull them out, light up a pipe, and blow smoke up their butt. Number 4. Torture frogs make super drugs. In Brazil, there's a certain type of frog, known as the giant monkey frog. There he is. This adorable little creature is seemingly innocuous. However, if you were to torture it and stress it out, as the indigenous people learned that you could do, it starts to excrete a natural opioid known as dermaphin, which is 40 times more powerful than morphine. Taking this and then mixing it with certain types of herbs creates cambo. And cambo is a very potent drug that's been used by people in the Amazonian area for thousands of years. Now, they claim it can cure pretty much anything, which, so far as anybody can really test, of course, is completely ridiculous. But what's even more ridiculous is now it's become a little bit fashionable, especially in the new agey types, the people who want to go and find a shaman for an ayahuasca ceremony, now also like to seek out urban shamans to experience a cambo trip. But yet again, the really bizarre part of this is that this drug does originally come from tortured frogs. Oh. Number 5. The Wandering Womb. I don't think I need a clever title for this one, because this is just amazing. Back in ancient Greece, there was a trend for them to believe in something called wandering womb. In fact, Plato and Hippocrates himself, the father of medicine, fully believed in the wandering womb theory. And this theory goes a little something like this. Ladies, I have terrible news. There is an animal inside of your body, a totally separate creature, and it's called your womb. And at certain points, because of certain conditions, it can detach itself from where it's supposed to be and just go wandering around. And this could manifest itself in various different ailments. For instance, if your womb was going up, it could cause sluggishness and loss of strength, maybe some vertigo. And if it was going down, it could be a lack of speech, and sudden impairment, and maybe even a spectacular death. Now, the theories for why this even occurred were pretty wide-ranging even back in ancient Greece. But suffice to say, it kind of comes down to one basic common trope. Well, there was something wrong with women. In fact, Aristotle himself once claimed that women were basically just malformed men. Just something wrong with them. All of this, of course, is ridiculous. But one thing that they all kind of had a similar theme of, at least back in that time, is that there was a way to calm down the womb. So the womb was easily bored, and it just wanted to wander off and become very wily, which is obviously why women were so wily back then, I guess. They needed to be pregnant. You had to give the womb something to do. So as you can imagine, this resulted in Greek women finding it very fashionable to be pregnant as often as possible, lest their lady parts begin a nomadic wandering through their body, causing all kinds of problems. Now, the imaginative Greek doctors did believe they found one other weakness, one other vulnerability in the womb, and that was the womb was uncontrollably attracted to very nice smells. Aren't we all? And so they would treat wandering womb by packing around the woman's head foul-smelling things and then making sure to spritz perfume or burn incense very close to the woman's vagina, trying to coax that little feller to come back down. Now, what's crazy about this isn't just that. I mean, ancient people didn't really understand a whole lot about the world. What's really crazy is that in some form or another, wandering womb was believed all the way up until the 1700s. Seriously. And the nice perfume-smelling treatment was very common, but there were other ones as well, such as sneezing, etc., etc. But around the 1700s, it kind of shifted from the womb to the brain, because the problem, maybe it wasn't the womb, but it was still a problem with women, of course. Now, what's fascinating is this then led to further bizarre treatments for things like hysteria, for which doctors would prescribe, and I'm not making this up, vibrators. Now, this notion that women were somehow biologically programmed to be irrational and wily and uncontrollable that stemmed from ancient Greece persisted all the way until the 19th century, when Sigmund Freud himself finally said, Has nobody noticed that guys are pretty irrational at times too? Is it just me? And if right now you're thinking to yourself, that's weird, because even now in modern day culture, there seems to be that kind of a trope, even if it's a joke, that's where it stems from. Ancient Greece. Anyway, that's going to be it for me today, guys. I just wanted to spend a little time with you, talk about some funny things from history, and otherwise hopefully brighten up your day. I hope you are well. I hope your family's well. From mine to yours, thank you so much. I will see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey, just to let everybody know, I edited this on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/RealJeffHoliday. The link is in the description down below. I've been trying to be more active on that and interact with the chat, work with you guys collaboratively on videos and research, showing people how I do some of my edits and my tricks of the trade. So if you're interested in anything like that, please, by all means, come and hang out. I stream usually in the mornings, Pacific Standard Time. So I hope to see some of you guys there. And take care.